Hi, I'm Fox, and I'm only about 6 years late to this video, but here is everything you need to know to play Chargeblade in 2024. We will start with an introduction of what the Chargeblade is, cover some of the most useful parts of its kit, talk about SAED versus Savage Axe, and lastly have a look at some builds. Timestamps can of course be found in the description of the video. First, let's talk about how Chargeblade plays. The basic steps are as following. You start in sword and shield mode, in which you charge your blade by attacking. Then you convert that energy and charge your files. Once you have files, you usually use the energy and charge them into your shield. From here onwards, it now depends on your playstyle. In the normal super amped element discharge, short SAED playstyle, you will now simply continue to charge your files as before and unleash them in a big move, doing a lot of damage. If you are playing Savage Axe, you will charge your files the same way, but instead of unleashing them, you will wind up your Savage Axe playstyle, which consumes them over time. Lastly, you can also charge your sword, which is situational, but also of course buffs its damage. Let's have a look at some of the important moves and other useful knowledge. While charging energy into your blade, you might notice how the files are changing color. Yellow means half charged, red means fully charged. Going past red will make them overcharged, which causes your blade to bounce off anything you attack. Optimally, you want to charge files once they reach a standard red phase. If you charge your sword, you will not bounce even if you are storing too much energy in your blade. Our first priority is to charge files as quickly as possible. Our highest charging combo is weak slash into charge double slash followed by spinning slash. If you are running focus 3, which you will on most builds, this will give you red files and you're ready to charge. If you want to close some distance, you can replace weak slash with forward slash. This is your bread and butter combo for file charging. Once your file gauge is red, it's time to charge your files. This is done by pressing guard and heavy attack. In order to use these files and charge our shield, we need to learn the basic combo to get into the amped element discharge attack. This is achieved by either starting again with weak slash or forward slash, into shield thrust, followed by weak and heavy attack. The twist to charge your shield is to press the guard button at the start of the animation. This way, instead of doing an amped element discharge, you will be charging your shield with the files. This is very important because charging the shield will give you a higher guard level and enables the use of super amped element discharge. The command for SAED is exactly the same without pressing guard at the end. If you simply want to use an AED, amped element discharge, which is faster and more precise, you have to press backwards and weak attack at the start of the windup. In Iceborne, the Chargeblade got a fancy new playstyle which is called the Savage Axe. This playstyle is simply put achieved by pressing left trigger at the start of the AED animation. You are now able to use your Savage Axe. Your bread and butter Savage Axe combo is heavy into weak into heavy into weak and so on. Obviously it can be different depending on the target you're fighting, so keep that in mind. To charge your sword, make sure your shield is already charged, go into file load mode with guard into heavy, and then press weak attack and hold it. You now know the main moves required to learn the Chargeblade properly. Other moves that I personally see as very important are as following. Morph slash. Press guard and weak attack to quickly morph into your axe mode. This can be used for small openings if you cannot use AED, for example. The hop. Hopping is a lot quicker than rolling. Pretty much any action you do in sword mode can be ended on a hop by holding your stick to the side and pressing jump. Holding forward or backwards will result in a roll. This small hop can be chained into a spinning slash or charged slash as examples. Sword sliding slash. After any sword attack, you can reposition quickly with a sword sliding slash by holding your stick into the direction you want to go and pressing heavy attack. Shield thrust, a very quick attack that lets you chain into AED or SAED, but can also be used to harass in small openings. It is performed by pressing heavy and weak attack after any sword attack. Lastly, After charging your files, you can instantly morph into axe mode by pressing heavy attack. One of the most important parts of the Chargeblade is the guard point. What exactly is this and why is it so good? A guard point is basically a form of guarding at the moment an attack would hit you, yet you don't use your regular guard button for this specific move. Instead, you have different abilities in which your character will have the shield in front of them acting as the guard in this case. If timed correctly, this will cause you to get slightly knocked back and allow for a quick follow-up. Why is it better than normal guarding, you might ask? Well, guard point adds 2 levels of guard to your shield at the moment. So for example, if you're running guard 3 and hold guard, you block with level 3 guard. In the same example, if you're using a guard point, the strength of your guard becomes level 5. The advantage here is that it allows you to run lower guard levels and still keep the power. This is important because guarding and having only a low knockback will allow you to instantly chain into an SAED for big damage. Guard points that you have in your kit are as follows. The starting point of Morph Slash. As you can see, your character holds the shield in front of the body, allowing you to guard point any attack. The wind-up animation of Savage Axe. Quite a lot more difficult to execute, yet you can also use this one. The starting animation when you draw your weapon with right trigger also has a slight guard point. As you can guess, our most commonly used guard point will be the Morph Slash, as you can execute it instantly. Obviously, the Chargeblade has many more moves in its kit, yet those are the ones I personally consider the most important moves and the ones I keep coming back to. Let's talk about the 2 big distinct playstyles, Super Amped Element Discharge versus Savage Axe, and when to use which one. The Super Amped Element Discharge short SAED playstyle is focused on exploding your files into a monster's face, causing damage. In most cases, you want to use an elemental playstyle here, as it is vastly more damage due to the files having an extremely high elemental modifier. One of my favorite matchups for SAED is, for example, Lunastra, who has extremely high hit zone values for Ice Element, causing my files from SAEDs to do a lot of damage. In case you want to play a one-for-all playstyle, raw SAED with impact files works too. It just has overall less damage output, but can also cause stuns. When do we play SAED? Well, sadly with Iceborne, not many matchups are SAED focused anymore. A lot of monsters do not give you enough time to unleash full SAEDs throughout the fight, or they simply don't have very good elemental hit zone values. In order for SAED to be effective, a monster needs to have overall good element hit zones on the whole body. In case the opposite is true, so only one single raw hit zone is good, you can also opt to play Impact File playstyle, as this ignores the raw hit zones completely. Yet, these are mostly matchups where I simply would suggest the Savage Axe playstyle. Savage Axe is simply put most of the time better. This is due to a more controlled playstyle, allowing you to do more damage on specific body parts. This can be played as raw or as elemental, depending on how good the elemental hit zones on the monster are. So the answer is mostly Savage Axe if you want to play optimal. This does not mean that SAED is bad or not viable, it just probably, even if played properly, will be outperformed by the Savage Axe. Lastly, you need to know about builds. I will present you some builds that I have not created myself, but I'm taking them from the Monster Hunter Gathering Hall Discord, so credit goes to them. Everything I'm showing in this video from there will also be linked in the description. I will go over some builds and explain their specific properties. Before though, we need to cover some specific guard levels and guard up, of course. Chargeblade can make use of the Iron Wall decoration. Iron Wall increases your guard level by 1. Most of the time, having guard 1 or guard 3 is sufficient to guard point against monsters and have instant follow-ups. Some monsters like Furious with Jang require guard 5. Rajang or Furious with Jang are also great examples of using guard up, as their beam can only be guarded if you are running the guard up decoration. So as a guideline, it is mostly safe to run guard 1 or guard 3, depending on the matchup, and use your guard point. In the last segment, I will talk about builds, but I will do this in a more free-flowing style. If you made it this far into the video already, you're probably enjoying it. That means you should definitely hit that like button and also subscribe to my channel. You can also leave a comment if you want to let me know what you think is really well done in this video, or if there's something you don't like as much, so I can improve my next video, of course. I also want to let you know that I stream quite a lot on Twitch, so make sure to check that out if you're interested in watching a live stream. So, you've reached the last part of this video, which is all about Chargeblade builds. Now, first off, I want to say I didn't make any of these builds by myself, of course. They are taken from the Monster Hunter Gathering Hall Discord, which you will find a link to below in the description, and also a link to this website that I will use now to go over some builds. We will mostly be looking at the endgame builds, and I will give you my thoughts, and I will also go over decorations and how to basically create your own builds if you want to modify them a little bit. So first, if you're someone that's still stuck or still going through the Monster Hunter World base game, there will also be builds here for you, which you can find under the Monster Hunter World pre-Iceborne Chargeblade builds category. Yet I essentially just suggest to use the defender weapons because they're very strong and they quickly let you get through the story to reach Iceborne, where the game really truly begins in a way. But if you rather want to take it slow and you want to have some fair type of progression towards the monsters, you might want to look into these builds. If you're someone who's currently on the Iceborne story, you might want to look at these sections here for progression builds from Master Rank 1, Master Rank 3 and so on. Something that could be helpful, of course, while you are going through the story here. Now, at the end of the story, you will very quickly reach Raging Brachidios and of course the Guiding Lance, which is your first monster that I really suggest farming and getting the gear very quickly, because the gear you get from Raging Brachidios is the Lightbreak gear, and it is really strong. It has the Agitator secret, for example, on there. But in general, also the weapons are very strong. Overall, these are your first kind of pieces that you want to get as quickly as possible once you reach this point, and it will make farming any other monsters a lot easier in my opinion. So definitely something I would suggest here to do basically. Then after you've done your whole Raging Brachidios and you got your Lightbreak gear, you have to, of course, face Alatreon at some point, for which we have, or Discord has these builds here, which are Safi builds. Safi builds are high optimized elemental builds. Now, of course, playing Safi is a bit difficult because Safi drains your HP while it gives you HP back. So you can also modify these builds a little bit with other gear, but I would really suggest taking the Safi gear, because it is just simply put the strongest element. Now, once you have defeated Alatreon, you can also use a 2 Alatreon and 3-piece Safi kind of version for this, which will also give you a lot of element, but also give you defense at the same time, or rather elemental defense at the same time. Now, something here to consider is also to take out the guard, because you don't want to guard that much against Alatreon, but you can also, of course, stick with guard. And then lastly, of course, the Fatalis build that they have, because this is going to be your last big fight before you have access to all the gear in the game. And this is a build that's for SAED playstyle, which I really do not suggest against Fatalis. I really suggest the Savage Axe playstyle and also the build here. And as you can see, this build doesn't even run guard because you are not supposed to guard a lot. And this build overall is pretty solid. It has a lot that you need and also a lot of utility. Now, one thing, if you are still struggling with Fatalis and you really want to go for that solo clear to have an achievement or feel like you have achieved something for yourself, something important, you can always try to run Divine Blessing. It's very important, or rather it's very useful. Divine Blessing 5 with the Golden Rathian set instead of Brachidium pieces, 2 of them, and that is just gonna really help you a lot with survivability. Obviously, you're gonna give up some damage, but for the fight, especially the first time, it's something I can really only suggest. It's gonna make your life a lot easier. And then Part Breaker is also quite important, so you can actually break the head, which is very, very difficult on this fight. So once you've beaten Fatalis, you finally get access to the best raw set in the game, which is obviously the Fatalis gear and the Fatalis weapon. It's super, super strong. It even comes with some dragon elements, so it's really good to also go against Fatalis again, basically. The set you're seeing here is a SAED oriented set. You can tell by running artillery because it boosts your file damage. So this is a set that is very comfortable with everything kind of neat in a way on Chargeblade. Now, don't forget that Chargeblade is a very deco-hungry weapon. You can slot in a lot. There is also, for example, no coalescence on this set, which if you play against something that gives you a lot of blight, you can run coalescence instead of something else. Like here, they also have other suggestions, right? But this is a very good overall set. Now, basically, the way you want to go on about building this set is that you want to max out your crit as high as possible. Critical Eye here will give you 40 crit, you will get 20 crit from Agitator, so you get 60, and then you get 5 from Attack Boost 4, which is 65, and obviously Weakness Exploit, if you are hitting the right spot, that is Tenderize, will then give you a total of 115 minus 20. Here will put you at 95, I believe. I hope I didn't make now any mistake, but basically your idea is to get crit as high as possible or at maximum. Then of course run Critical Boost, that's like your basic setup kinda. And the rest and all becomes more of a comfort thing. Focus is probably the highest comfort with Handicraft because both of those really help you with just playing the weapon better, and it's nice. Handicraft is more important for Savage Axe and Raw Axe playstyles, while if you play Elemental, it's not as important. Offensive Guard is super, super strong. I can only suggest running it on any raw-oriented build. Very, very strong. And of course, Capacity Boost being basically mandatory no matter what you play, kind of. Definitely something you always, always, always want to run. Then we have the element builds, which in this case, this is a very comfortable set. It's the AT Volcana Helm for Coalescence because it does boost element damage, and the rest is Fatalis. This is very comfortable. It's not the highest damage output possible, but this has also everything you kind of want in terms of element damage. It's very nice. You can also play Elemental Savage Axe with this kind of setup. Maybe change out focus for Power Prolonger if needed. But I would stick with focus in most cases when you play Elemental Savage Axe. And overall, for pure element, I would definitely suggest the Safi 5 with the Kiara weapons because it's super, super strong. That's the one I've been using for Lunastra. Very good set. It also has everything you need, basically, but not a lot of comfort, of course. So it's a bit difficult to play and it can cause you to card quite quickly. Now, when it comes to Savage Axe, which you will often probably play as a raw weapon unless the monster has very good elemental hit zones on the head, for example, you then play this type of set, which has a Power Prolonger here instead of focus because you're using up and down. For example, this is a Fatalis set. You could use this against Fatalis, besides running guard and offensive guard in this case. But overall, this is also a very solid set with Divine Blessing 5 for extreme maximum comfort. Very good set. But basically, I hope you got an idea of how to make your own set, how to go on about what is important. Basically, again, just to sum up, get 100% crit, get critical boost, get focus on there, get capacity boost on there, and get as much guard as needed, and you're already set. Then comes the rest with focus and sharpness management, and of course element if you need it, and so on, basically. So yeah, that would be it for the building. Overall, this is now also the end of the video. I hope you guys did like this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to leave a comment. I will be trying my best to answer any questions that might come up. And on that note, I'm of course wishing you an amazing rest of your day, wherever you live.